Hey, Caitlin. Hey, Brian.
Hey Sherry, what's up?
How are you, love?
I'm doing really well. I have a bit of a cold. I have a runny nose, but that's about it.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully, you'll get rid of that soon. Hey,
Oh yeah, I'll
Brian.
survive.
Hey Sherry, how you guys doing? Hey Caitlin.
Hey Brian.
Doing good, thanks. And, I just want to give a little shout out and say Happy International Women's Day today as we celebrate women across the globe.
Oh yes.
We,
Happy
can,
Women's Day indeed.
we cannot forget that today, but I need to give Caitlin a proper introduction. Our guest has earned her Bachelor's of Fine Arts from the New York uh, University in 2011. She also studied at the Stella Adler Studio of Acting. Our guest is not only an actor, she's a writer, a comedian, a commentator, a filmmaker, and a poker player, to name a few. Caitlin's poker um, has a Hendon Mob entry. I'm sorry, her first Hendon Mob entry was in 2022, and she has been on a roll ever since with over 200,000 in live earnings, with her best live earning being a 60K, over a 60K win for her second place finish at the Lodge Monthly Monster in April of 2022. Our guest made a big splash in the world of poker on screen, so to speak, with her Jack 4 investigation spoof, and continues to make great content with Nikki on Aces Holes. Please welcome Caitlin Comeskey. Did I say that right?
Thanks for having me, Sherry. Thanks for that lovely introduction. How thorough.
Well, we're happy you're here because, we in Spaces just love you and your humor, and we love when you release that content. We can't wait, Caitlin.
Glad to be accepted by the Spaces community. I enjoy listening to Spaces and the drama of the Spaces.
I hear you. And unfortunately, some of that drama has chased many away, but hopefully they'll come back around, right? Because there's also some good going on in Spaces. Now, I'm just going to say, I have to brag about you in 2024, Caitlin. You have five cashes for over 31,000, including winning a Run Good ring for your first place finish in the Tunica Ladies event for just over $5,000. My question to you is going to be: do you think the open fields or the lady only fields are tougher?
Um, Well, the open fields are often larger, so I would say that they're tougher just because they're going to be more in the field. I know a lot of women that don't prefer to play with ladies. I don't necessarily have a preference, but I enjoy playing with women. I feel like a lot of the times you're going to be the only woman at the table when you're playing open events or cash games. And when you're playing a ladies event, you're only going to play with women. So that's a great time to network and meet like-minded people that can lift you up and encourage you. Some of my most important friendships in poker are with other women. Um, some of my most important friendships of my life are women that I've met through poker. So I think that women's events are very important. I don't know that I would say they're easier. I think a lot of people make assumptions about women being passive that I don't think are true. The Tunica field, especially, was a very aggressive, call heavy field. And it was like a lot of the open events in Tunica in the same way. The player profile was the same. So I think every women's event is different, but I don't think they're easier.
And I could not agree with you more. And I just love it when people say that because I'm like, oh, please let them end up at my table because nothing makes me happier than somebody underestimating me because I'm a woman.
Oh, heck yeah. I think that when you become a known player, you kind of lose some of the advantages that you get as a woman in an open field of the assumptions that they're going to make. You get a lot more bluffs through when you can kind of be anonymous. But if people seen you play on stream, they've seen you cash in events, they know you got they know you got some bluffs in you, so
It's funny you
that
said
advantage does go away.
it's funny you said that because a few years ago I picked up Maureen Bloklinger at the Atlanta airport, and we went down to Biloxi together. And she spoke to me about why didn't I have any of the patches on, the women's group their patches. And I said, really? It's because I don't want people to recognize me. I don't want them to know I'm involved. Like, I want them to think I'm a newbie or just an old lady playing poker. I don't want them to have a reason to try to recognize, why does she have that patch on. So I get that. I totally get that.
What have you been focusing on mostly recently, Sherry? Are you playing more tournaments or cash, or where are you putting your volume in?
Well, and it's funny you ask that question because I'm kind of having to, my poker is twofold right now. Last year, I gave up cash for the whole year except two meetup games I did it in December. And I gave up cash because I wanted to focus on my tournament play. This year, I've debated. I have not even made my goals for the year because I can't decide if I want to stay focused on tournaments or start playing cash again because I love cash. But the problem was I was burning the candle at both ends because I'm staying up all night playing cash, and then I would try to go play a tournament the next day, which was not for good poker, right? But
Yeah.
the problem right now, and it's not really a problem, it's just life getting in the way. My daughter is expecting our first grandbaby.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. And I'm very excited. And so I just came to Washington State 2 weeks ago, and I'm going to be here through June. And the reason I'm here is because we're going to have a baby shower next week. And then she coaches a college sport. And so at some point, when she's told she can't drive anymore or fly anymore, I'm actually going to be her chauffeur, so to speak, to the college matches. And so I'm kind of like in this limbo right now about my poker. Right now, the best part of this ordeal, besides having a great grandbaby, of course, is that I'm now 10 minutes away from a poker room instead of 3 hours away from a poker room. And so I will get to play lots of poker. Um, so I don't know what my focus is. I'm lost, Caitlin, right now.
I'm sure it'll all shake out and you'll find what makes you happiest.
Yeah, it's just a lot. I'm like I said, real life is getting in the way. But tell us what your focus is now. Are you playing more cash than tournaments, or both, or what?
I'm playing more tournaments these days. I started my poker career as a cash grinder and game organizer. And as I became more and more involved with media, a lot of the opportunities that I got in terms of just like compensation and being an ambassador for certain brands like came in the form of buy-ins. So for me to be able to turn a free buy-in into cash to convert that, I had to really learn a lot more about tournaments. And I found that I really, really like it. I've been studying a lot on my own and really enjoying it. I've been working on blind v blind play all week. And of course, that's like the hardest shit. And it's so incredibly hard. But I'm having a lot of fun. I went from like a 50% accuracy to a 70% accuracy. So we're moving in the right direction.
That's
But
amazing.
I really
Now,
do just have more fun with tournaments.
now that you brought up coaching, that is something that, as a matter of fact, before we came on the air, I was looking at different sites because I think while I'm on this grandma watch, I might be thinking about doing some coaching. So tell me what you've done for coaching, not only as a student but as a coach yourself.
So, as a coach myself, I teach a group of ladies here in Austin. It used to be a weekly game. We're less frequent now with all my travel and stuff, but it's a group of business professionals, realtors, ladies in marketing and data and tech and the gaming industry, and they're learning from scratch. So, I can teach baby beginners. I've gotten more comfortable with that and advancing them through the game tree. And then in terms of receiving coaching, I had a cash coach where we focused on like 100 big blind poker and deep stack cash. for about like a year, maybe a little over a year. And now that I'm focusing more on MTT and I've got some of like the basic fundamentals and heuristics down, I'm using GTO Wizard. I use the drill function the most. You can make your own drills, but then they also have just like pre-made, ready-made drills that the GTO staff created. And I think that those are really helpful. And I do that probably, I try to say like a minimum 20 minutes a day, but it's more like a couple hours a few times a week.
That's awesome. That's great information. I have just on a whole totally different subject. Um, a question I often ask folks, and we were talking about it in a space earlier this morning, and I promised them I was going to ask you, like, what is most amount of bullets that you fired into any one tournament?
I think I've gotten crazy in some of these lodge events. I've since changed my ways and I've outgrown this, but four to 600 like mid-major 500K guarantee where they have like the huge guarantee on it and multi-bag bags and stuff. I've fired as many as like 6 or 7, but I don't know that I would continue to do that or I would do that today. The Prime event in the win, because that just was such a massive prize pool. I was going to give up after, I forget, like I won 2 satellite bullets off a $400 milestone satty, and then I fired 2 out of pocket, and I was going to call it quits. And I actually ran into Kathy Liebert when I was railing my friend in the ladies event, and she was like, Caitlin, this is like the biggest tournament of the year practically with like such a low buy-in. Like you're not going to get another 1K with this kind of prize pool. If you think you're beating this field, like it's irresponsible not to fire. Like she really encouraged me to keep at it. And so I fired 1 more prime bullet. So I ended up firing, I think 5 bullets into the prime, which was pretty big. I mean, that's pretty hefty on a 1K. I had a couple of satellites, like I said, but it's still pretty heavy. And I ended up losing money in the event, but I did end up running really, really deep. I cracked, I think, the top 200. I don't remember my exact place, but I still ended up losing like 1,500, 2K in the event. But I'm glad that I did re-enter because Kathy was absolutely right. And I think I could have made it even further. I just had a really icky spot. My bust out hand, I reshoved 24 bigs over a 15 blind shove, and the original razor called. So it was a 3-way all in, and the other 2 had aces and kings.
Oh,
So,
oh,
that's just kind of a shit sandwich.
oh, that's a stake through the heart. Oh, I feel for you. Brian, do you have any questions, bud?
Yeah, first I want to make a comment. I love your impersonations. Like, they, I just laugh. Like, seriously, some of these videos, like, I watch multiple times. Like, they're just hysterical. Like, I think you're, like, super talented at that and really cool. As far as, like, the World Series goes this summer, what are your plans for that?
Well, thank you for your kind words. It's definitely nice to make something artistic and have people appreciate it like they do these impression videos. So thank you for that. My plan for the summer is I'm going to do another full schedule again. I already got my accommodations set up. I'm going to be living with some of the 8131 media photographers that I know from my Run Good ambassadoring that I've become close with. So we're going to have 4 girls of us in a house. And I'm going to be the only poker player. Everybody else is either a photographer or a reporter. So I'm excited about that. Everyone's going to be working long hours and grinding. It's a beautiful house and super excited to like have my own space. Every other time I've been in Vegas for a long time, I've been hopping around between resorts or staying with Nikki, and it's been really uncomfortable. But this time I'm going to have like my own space. I'm going to be driving my car out. I'm going to find a gym or a spin studio that I like. I'll be able to pack my brown bag my lunches, and so I'm really excited about the summer. I've been studying a ton. I've been running really well in tournaments so far this year, and I'm really hoping to get my first bracelet. I'm going to be playing a lot of the no limit events, of course, And then I plan on playing the Deuce to 7 single draw events. That's a game that I have a lot of experience playing in cash, and that I'm just really naturally gifted at and really like that game. I think it's so super fun. It's a 2-street game. It's the shit. I just love it. So I'll definitely be playing those events, and then the ladies event, and any Hold'em event I can find. I probably won't play any 4-card games. I play PLO events like on the Run Good series or sometimes at the Lodge for fun and to get exposure to the game. But at this time, I'm not expanding out to play PLO events.
Okay, now I know that in the wild, wild west of Texas, because I've been there and I've played there, you all love that double bomb pot PLO stuff. So are you going to play that tournament?
I might, it's certainly, it's so funny you asked about this. We were talking about this. We're reviving my Texas Poker Experience podcast that I do with Craig Sear, who's a dealer here in Austin. And we recorded an episode today, and we did a segment talking about bomb pots and how a lot of us are kind of getting over it just because it just takes so much time, like every dealer down, especially at the Lodge and their cash games, is going to start with a PLO bomb pot. And for the no limit players that don't have experience reading 4 cards and 2 boards, it just takes forever. Like these bomb pots are going to take up the primary time of the down, and then you're only going to see 6 or 7 regular Hold'em hands in a down. So I think a lot of people are getting really frustrated with bomb pots, especially since a lot of people have wised up and it's not as free money as it used to be. People, have learned they got to kind of have both sides working, having one board netted up. You can get quartered a lot, and people are wising up to some of these things that used to make them so super profitable. So now it's just kind of a time
I'm
suck.
just going to tell.
So
I'm going to tell you, Caitlin, I hate it. I'm not going to play them. I'm not going to play the hand. I'm not going to play the game. I'm a no limit player. If I want to play PLO, I will go sit at a PLO table. I don't want to play PLO at a no limit table. That is not what I'm there for. And I will never sit down at another table that has PLO bomb pots. I just don't.
What do you think about this?
That's not a stand I'm going to take. I mean, most of the cash game volume that I put in is going to be at private games where, I always have the straddle on and I'm always playing the bomb pot and the stand-up game. And I don't have the luxury of being able to sit out those things, even if they annoy me. You just got to play them and be good for the game.
I'm going to play the stand-up game. I'm going to, make the what do you call it? Straddle. I'll straddle. That's not a problem. I'll play the 7 deuce game, but I'm not playing the PLO bomb pot. It just takes too much time, and I want to play no limit. So anyway, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, but you sitting out the game, you sitting out bomb pots doesn't affect the amount of time they're taking up.
I know, but sometimes there's no other game, so I have to play that game, right? So I would just,
okay.
I'd rather not even sit at the table, quite honestly. But if I happen to be visiting a friend and that's the only poker game in town, then I'll just sit out the PLO game, hand, and wait for my no limit.
What do you think about this, Caitlin? I've been pushing Jack.
Oh, wait a minute, Brian. Wait, time out, Brian.
Yeah.
Are you on your headset? Because your sound is horrible.
No, that's what I was telling you. My speakerphone is terrible. Let me cycle back. I got a question for you.
Okay, because it's hard to hear you, love. Hopefully he'll get that straightened out. Until then, I'll ask another question. Do you still dream of an acting career or being a comedian or a poker player, Caitlin?
No, I don't like, in terms of like to be an actress at my age, I would, I don't know that that's something that I'm interested in. If, my content continues to grow and I outgrow the poker audience, I could see a scenario in which I start doing stand-up again. And if I get invited to do stand-up shows, I have a couple coming up that I'm just gonna come and do with, like Joe Stapleton, I think, is coming to Austin, and I'll get up and I'll revive some old comedy songs and stuff. And it's a skill set I still have, but I really like poker, and I'm really interested and fascinated with poker. And I continue to get better and have more and more opportunities. So for right now, I love my life and I'm happy doing what I'm doing. I'm living my dream life now.
Good for you, Caitlin. Not many people can say that. Good for you. That is awesome. I welcome Donna to the stage. Do you have any questions or comments for Caitlin?
Hello, my darling. How are you?
I'm doing well, Donna. Good to hear from you.
You too. So, are you looking forward to getting to the WSOP and being on your feet all the time? I know it's going to be so difficult.
I'm excited. I'm really excited. I'm in training mode, getting ready for it, playing mid majors, studying, going to the gym, working on my nutrition. Like I'm ready. Like I'm ready for the grind. I'm excited for it.
So, what are you going to be playing then in the WSOP? Have
I'm gonna
you
be
decided what you'll be playing and your bike roll, etc.?
Yeah, so I'll be there the whole time. I know I'm gonna be doing some content stuff. We're gonna be making Ace Holes episodes, and I'm gonna be doing some work with poker.org. Um, but I'll definitely be playing a lot of no limit events and then the deuce to seven single draw events.
Sounds good. Well, I wish you all the best of luck, my darling. And it was lovely meeting you in Vegas when I was there.
Oh, likewise.
All right,
And
Caitlin, I like to do rapid fire. Are you familiar?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Live poker or online poker?
Live poker.
Pizza or burgers? Granny
Burgers.
panties or thongs?
Granny panties.
Beer or wine?
Neither. Vodka.
I love it. Joey Ingram or Doug Polk?
Oh gosh, that's a hard one. I mean, I know Joey a little bit better, but Doug has also been super kind and sweet to me. I'll go Joey, but it's a close one.
I would agree. Acting or comedy?
Comedy.
Thank you for playing.
Perfect.
Brian, are you back with us, bud? See if he has been able to sort his line.
Maybe. Is this any better or no?
I guess I'm just going to tell you that it's still sketchy, but we can definitely hear you a little bit better.
Give me a couple
Okay.
minutes. I'll be back.
I see Mr. Keating down in our goo. I'm glad you joined us today. Caitlin, tell us about your background growing up. I believe I remember you saying that it was a very Christian oriented household, was it?
So, actually, not my household. I went to a private school that was very Christian, fundamentalist, like very Baptist, conservative Christian. My parents are politically conservative, but both of them are not super spiritual, not super, like we went to church very infrequently, but they sent me to this school that was very religiously centered, where we had Bible class an hour every day from kindergarten through senior year, and we had praise and worship and assemblies every day of the week. So it was more in my education than in my actual household. But yeah, that was a huge part of my growing up was
And
Christianity.
how much of what you do as far as your comedy or your role playing for your lovely content for us that are graced by your content and love your content. How much of it is influenced or ideas come from that upbringing?
I'd say very little of the stuff I'm doing in the poker realm, because I am just doing like character impressions essentially. When I first started writing out of college, I wrote like a ton of pilots when I was doing stand up and I was trying to get representation as, a writer and a creator. And one of the pilots I wrote took place in like a school similar to the one I grew up with. The protagonist was like a South Boston guidance counselor that was forced to relocate to Texas, and she was like a fish out of water in this small evangelical school. So I've definitely expressed that side creatively before earlier, but now it's pretty far in the rear view. I don't go to church anymore, and I'm more spiritual than religious for sure.
And I think we all probably mature into that as we get older, because I feel the same way with where I'm at in my life. And I think it's just a sense of knowing who you are as a person and who you want to be, right? And you just live that way every day. Um,
Yeah, I mean, everybody has their own
yeah,
road with religion and spirituality.
I totally agree.
I stayed pretty engaged in my Christianity all the way through college. It actually sometimes I was kind of a fish out of water in the NYU pool that I was in, because I still went to church and Bible study 2 times a week, and that was an active part of my life all the way through college. It wasn't until I left school that I quit attending church and making that a part of my social and personal life.
Oh, thank you for sharing that with us. Tell us how you met Nikki and how Ace Holes got started.
I met Nikki through Katie Lindsay, who's an ACR
Love
pro.
her.
She and yeah, she's phenomenal. Such a sweet lady. She's really good at matchmaking, both professionally and romantically. And we were out to dinner at Urban Rye in Las Vegas when I was getting ready for the GPI Awards last year. And Katie was like, who are you going with? Like, who are you taking as your date? And I was like, I don't have anybody to take. No, I couldn't get anybody to go with me. I'm going by myself. I'm going stag. And she's like, oh, well, Nikki wants to go. You should bring Nikki. So Nikki was my date for the first GPI Awards. And we were, that night that we were hanging out with Katie, and then the next night when we attended the ceremony, we were just riffing nonstop the whole time. And that's still how we are today. And we had like a language with each other. We were both interested in making the same kind of content. And she had asked sort of sheepishly, like, hey, would you ever want to like start a, and I was just like, snap call, yeah. And then I followed up. We had a meeting the other day, and Ace Holes is kind of, because I've decided to keep Texas as my home base, it's sort of like a seasonal show where when I'm there for the summer, we can stockpile episodes and we can like make a season of sketches and shows.
Sure.
But we're sort of in our off season right now.
Well, we are all waiting for you to gear up. We're waiting with bated breath for this summer and those shows because they're so fun to watch. We appreciate your effort for sure. And,
Thank you, Sherry.
absolutely. And as far as Katie Lindsay, I'm going to tell you a little story. I met her day two, 2019 World Series of Poker ladies event. Day two, I think, the ninth or 10th shortest stack of the whole tournament of, I think, about 230 ladies left. And I go to sit down at my table, and Katie is to my left. And of course, she's one of the chip leaders with like 400,000. And I think I had 11,500 in chips, right? And I just sat down and I just busted out laughing because she had this mountain of chips. And I had this, like, I think I had like 6 chips or 7 chips or whatever. And I literally just busted out laughing because she was to my left, right? And, but I'm happy to say I think I lasted another 6 or 7 hours on that stack and made it to, uh, into the money at 91 before I went out. So lovely young lady. I really appreciated sitting next to her.
That's right where you want her is to your left, Sherry.
Yeah. Oh, she was amazing. What a great poker player, but even a better person. So go ahead, Brian. It sounds like you
Kate,
got that sound worked out.
hopefully, Caitlin, I wanted to ask you a question. So we were talking earlier about the different games. I've approached Jack and Matt Savage about this idea for a long time, and for some reason they don't think it's a good idea. I think they should have a tournament called the Angler, and you can do all the things you're not really allowed to do usually. Angle, shoot people. You'd have to have some kind of rules, I think. But what do you think about that?
Oh gosh, well, I think if you label the tournament an angle shoot, it's going to be really hard to angle get away with angle shooting anybody, Brian.
That's
There is
hilarious.
that loophole. There is that loophole. Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's true.
Brian, you are so funny. Jesus. Go ahead, Brian. I'm going to let you have the stage.
No, I'm fine. I just figured out the other day, Sherry. I think I'm probably gonna have a full schedule this year. I think some things opened up, and I think this year I'm gonna go the full boat for the WSOP. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh,
And
that's
that'll
amazing
and that'll
news.
that always depends, right? Like if I break every tournament, we're not playing the main. All right. So that's just the way it is.
Well,
Right.
that's amazing news. I'm glad to hear it for sure. We were supposed to learn how to play Raz so we can play the Raz tournament together at the WSOP.
No, no. Caitlin, she's saying that because I went and I watched, who was it, David Baker, and the guy was down to half of a bet, and comes back and he wins the whole tournament. I'm standing next to like all the other guys like Rail, and they start talking about the bracelet, Caitlin. I'm like, okay, I'm getting away from these guys. Like I went over to the other side immediately, and like I don't know, the guy lost. The guy did, I don't think he won a hand for like 20, 30 minutes. Like it was the most absurd thing I've ever seen.
He thought it
So
was the hex. Now, Caitlin, you brought up the GPI awards. Congratulations once again. Can you tell us how many you've stacked up now?
I won two. It's a very small stack, just the two.
Hey, that's a stack in my books. That's awesome, and you're so deserving of it. And I'm sure there are more to come in the GPI awards for you for sure.
Oh, I appreciate you. I mean, it's lovely to be recognized by your peers. I know some people, don't love the GPI awards or they shit on them or say it's more of like an industry whatever, but it's perfect for me. I like this year especially, I get an opportunity to get in front of everybody who could sponsor me or put me into tournaments, or it's sort of like an audition for me or an industry network meet and greet. So I mean, I'm a fan. I had fun.
Oh,
Open bar on there.
I love it. I brought up Andrew to the speaker panel. Andrew, do you have any comments or questions?
Thank you, Sherry. Appreciated. And Sherry and Brian, honestly, like I know you've had a lot of good guests on and stuff, but you're really knocking it out of the park, getting Caitlin on. Oh, I love it.
Thank you.
Um, I do have a question for Caitlin actually. Um, I've not been in poker, admittedly, very long, but you were the first person I saw like really take the piss out of the community or like poker players and poker in general. Um, yeah, I just because I've not really seen it before, I just wondered what was your sort of inspiration to kind of do that. What made you think of I can make something funny out of poker? Because from my experience, not many people were doing that before.
Well, when the Jack 4 scandal popped off, I was like sort of making short form content. It was like a lot of lip syncing videos and a lot of like trends on TikTok kind of a stuff that was like not really gaining any traction. And then the Jack 4 went down, and I was watching the Joey Ingram investigates for like hours and hours and hours. And I was just like, this is like a Christopher Guest movie. Like, this is so funny to me. There are all these like distinctive eccentric personalities. Like, this could be a sketch. And then I just it happened to be October when all this went down, so I just uh, sort of acted really quickly on the impulse to create something and went to Halloween Spirit right away, got myself some wigs, and luckily it was a smash and success.
That's wicked. Yeah, cheers, France, friend. I love it because since you've done that, there are quite a few more people doing content now that's kind of similar-ish to what you started. So I think you really started a trend, and yeah, kudos.
I think
Well,
one
thank you.
I think one of the things that, initially made poker such a big thing is like the personalities and stuff like that. And then it grew to such a size that it was difficult for like production to be able to figure out who's going to be at this tournament at the end. So they couldn't really build these stories. And yet you still have like all of these personalities, and I think like you really filled a gap. And the more that you do, I mean, the better. Honestly, like I think that's something that the like the mainstream coverage is really missing. Like was really missing. I think like even what Jeff Platt does now, like is really good. I think like that's the right direction to head. I think, but I think that this stuff is something that can really fill a gap, and I mean it's just great. Honestly, like I told you from the beginning. So.
Well, and
Well, awesome. Thank you.
I'm just gonna chirp in that I think my favorite character that you do, and believe me, I laugh at all of them, but when you did Veronica Brill, and I love Veronica, I could not stop laughing when you did Veronica Brill. It was the best.
Oh yeah, I love Veronica. She's so sweet. I'm actually doing their podcast tomorrow morning.
Oh, awesome. Do you
Yeah.
have you played much poker outside of the United States, Caitlin?
None.
None. Okay. Do you have a favorite poker room outside, let's say outside of Austin? What would be your favorite poker room?
Probably the Encore, the Encore. That's a great place to play. They've got like the best assortment of, gratis beverages, and it always smells really nice. I like that there's like a little place to walk outside and see the sun right outside the tournament area. So I guess I go with that. And I mean the Win WPT series and the 2 Decembers I've played them have just been phenomenally run, such an enjoyable experience. So yeah.
They do a great job. I've been to the WPT the last two Decembers myself, and I was so impressed the first year and even more impressed the second year. They do a great job, and the Win Poker Room is just excellent. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I need to and Sherry, they have the strawberry Julius, I think there that the
You
poker
don't say.
boss refuses to bring back to Bellagio. I'm just I'm still bitter about that.
I
Um
know you are.
yeah, so it's crazy. Um so as far as you're mostly focused on tournaments these days um and what's up next as far as are you going to play out here? You said you're going to be on the podcast. Are you going to play in LA or?
No, I'm not traveling to LA. I'm doing the podcast
Oh,
remotely. So I'm actually probably going to late reg after I do that. I'm going to late reg the Art of Poker here at the Lodge, is a monthly tournament they do that always mashes the guarantee and gets like a good 15K for first pretty regularly. So I'll probably be late regging that and seeing if I can spin.
yeah. How's the difference between as far as the Texas card rooms go and that kind of thing? Have you played any in LA?
I played a little bit in LA. I started my poker career in LA. Hustler was the first club I was a regular at when I was living in LA outside of or after I graduated college and I had moved there. I wish I could remember more about how the games were, but I just remember there being like a lot of Armenian dudes that tried to make me their wife. That was my
You
experience in
almost got
LA
married a bunch of
poker.
times. How
Yeah, I was popular with the Armenian men at the Hustler Casino. I don't even know if they're still there, but
Bon chicka wah
I'm
wah.
sure
yeah.
they
Well, the
are.
biggest difference is like California rate is probably the most expensive of any place you can play in the country. They don't even let you chop. You got to give them $1 to chop.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's great. Yeah. So how is the lodge in general?
The Lodge is a great club. They've always got 1-2 games running. The 1-2-5 PLO game is probably one of the better PLO games in the country. The tournaments are run really well. Um, the Lodge is like really strict about certain things, like acting in turn is a big thing at the Lodge. If you act out of turn, you get like there's no warning. You start getting penalties immediately, and they're escalating. And when it first was instituted at the Lodge, there was a lot of people complaining and stuff, but now we're all used to it and it's fine. And if you do it accidentally, you still have to pay your penalty and it's whatever. But it's so funny because when I'm playing at different parts in the country and someone acts out of turn and it really affects action, I'm always like, this shit would never fly at the Lodge,
Yeah. So in general, you think that's a positive thing? like now that is the way that it is. Like even when it's an accident, it's just like obviously for the game integrity and stuff like that. Or
Yeah,
we'll do.
I've grown accustomed to it and I like it. I mean, I'm usually paying attention unless I'm just like being a little shit and I'm on my phone too much. I'm usually paying attention. It's not a problem for me. I think maybe I've gotten one accidental penalty in like 2 years since they've instituted the rule. So it's not anything I'm greatly affected by. I usually just act in turn and act quickly. But when you're a victim of people acting out of turn and it affecting your action, then I'm like really grateful for the rule.
So Dutch and I, we were getting ready for the tag team event last year, and I was definitely the fish of the team for sure. Obviously, Dutch has what, 3 bracelets or something like that, and so he's just like he gives me this speech. I wish I had recorded it, Caitlin. It was like so inspiring, but then he said, put your effing phone away, and I thought. I never want him to walk in a poker room ever again and see me with my phone out. Like every time I go to pull it out, I think Dutch is gonna walk in and just smack me in the back of the head or something. It's just funny. Go ahead, Donna.
Yeah, I don't know whether this has been asked or not, but what's it like being in the spotlight, and how have you found becoming, as I will say, famous in the poker industry, in the poker world?
Well, I mean, it's still such a niche world. One, I think there are a ton of people in poker that don't know who the hell I am. I think I'm famous on poker Twitter, even like a niche within a niche. It's not like being real famous, where it's like, oh, I can't go to the grocery store. They're paparazzi. Like, no, it. I say yes to all the opportunities I get when people are kind and want to hear me speak or be a guest on their programming because I think it's good exposure for me. I'm trying to build long term relationships with brands in the industry. I'm thinking long term for my career. So, if I'm, really popular right now and people want to hear what I have to say, I'm going to strike while the iron's hot and do the best to grow my career.
Do you ever see yourself writing a book?
Um, I mean, it could happen. I wouldn't make like a poker like how to
Right.
book, certainly. Maybe something more like Maria did, where it's sort of like a semi autobiographical kind of a thing I would do, or maybe like write a work of fiction set in the poker world. I could see myself doing, but I wouldn't make like playing MTT's tough with Caitlin like that. That's not gonna
Yeah, I
happen.
don't see, I don't know you personally, but I don't see that as your realm. I see a good storytelling book about maybe your life in poker, some fun stories that you've been exposed to because of poker. Now, this year, I've kind of decided that for some of our interviews, I'm going to try to focus on people that I think are deserving of being in the Hall of Fame. And one of those people is John Sanudo, who is battling some health issues right now, but hopefully we're going to get him rescheduled for an interview soon. Um, and so I ask you, are there any people that you think are deserving of that Hall of Fame nod that aren't inducted yet? Press that microphone button.
That's usually me.
Oh, sorry. I was saying Maria Ho, if she's not already there, she certainly needs to be there. Vanessa Selps, um, Chrissy Foxen. There are a lot of people that, I mean, that are still so young that I understand if they're not in the conversation for this year because they got a lot of career years ahead of them, but that they've already just done such amazing things worthy of, all-time great recognition.
Right on. Right on. I also think, as far as women are concerned, since it's International Women's Day, I also think of JJ Liu is one of my favorites.
Oh, hell yeah. I love
Yeah,
her.
she has definitely, stood the test of time. The only thing, she won a bracelet or ring online this year or in 2023, excuse me. Um, but she hasn't won one in live play yet. And I kind of feel that like that's probably held her back from that nod. So hopefully she'll win that bracelet this year, and then there's no more excuses. But I certainly think she is deserving, as well as the three wonderful poker players that are crushers that you mentioned, for sure.
I think it's getting tougher and tougher, Sherry. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many people, but it is kind of interesting because when you think about it, I think that there's like Caitlin she just rattled off a list of people that you're like, yeah, of course, but but you don't hear people talk about women, uh, the players getting in there as much. Everything's about the same group of people, which, I mean, they're deserving too. But it's just funny that you went through and just rattled off like what, five people that it's like, of course, yeah, like they should be in there. Donnie
100%.
or Andre,
Andrew, go ahead, bud.
Andrew. Sorry,
Thank
Andrew.
you. Caitlin, if you so I guess a lot of people will just see you as the funny person of poker, maybe even more than a poker player. Do you consider yourself like, the funny person of poker who just plays some poker, or do you consider yourself more of a poker player who also happens to be this comedy icon in poker?
I'd say I'm a poker player first, just because that's how I'm making money right now. I mean, I get some opportunities in poker media that translate to real cash dollars, but I definitely couldn't be doing that all year long. I'd starve. I wouldn't be able to pay any of my bills. Um, Hopefully, maybe I can get more income coming from other revenue streams, like media, more so in the future. But right now, poker is first, and I fit sort of content in on the side to sort of build my career and give me more opportunities and for artistic fulfillment. But I'm keeping the lights on with poker.
Caitlin, oh, go ahead, Andre.
No, sorry. I was just kind of going to follow up real quickly, if
Mm.
it's all right. I was just going to say, like, sorry if it's a bit boring, but like, what do you do? How much kind of like study are you attributing to like poker? How much? What are you doing in terms of like study? Because, like I say, from the outside looking in, it's not something you ever talk about in terms of like, I guess that part of what you do. Really, I never seen you talking about what you're learning, what you're studying, if you're studying much. So do you get in the lab with it a bit?
Well, I would definitely prefer for everyone to, think of me as comedy first and like just a field player who doesn't study or whatever. But the truth of it is, I've put a lot of time and effort into my game. I've paid for one on one coaching. I've played hundreds and thousands of hands online at micro stakes to get my heuristics down. I spend hours in the GTO Wizard drilled function every week trying to close up holes that I've identified. I'll send hand histories to people I trust if I'm really confused about something. That's not a huge thing that I do. But I'll go over hand histories with others. I'm not a part of like a study group right now. It's pretty like on my own, but I do have like friends that I also know that study, that if I have questions there, I know who to go to bounce things off of. A huge one is Poker Face Ash studies probably more than I do. She definitely puts a lot of work into her game. So on the MTT side, so, excuse me. So if I have questions about that, I definitely go to her. We're playing a lot of the same fields and, buy-in sizes. So she's definitely one of my friends that I bounce stuff off of. Nikki and I will talk poker occasionally. And yeah, I have tons of. Landon is someone who I showed Landon my cash graph just to be like, how does this look for you? And he's like, that's a really good graph. And I was like, and I was gonna send him my data and ask him to go over it, but I never did.
Good for you. Donna, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, just going back to the comedy aspect of it, Caitlin. Who was the easiest character to master? Who's the hardest character to master? And what's your future characters you're going to be mastering? I'm sorry, it's 3 in 1, but I think it's Something that's interesting.
Kinda was the easiest because she's my friend and I've been doing her like when we hang out all the time. So kinda was probably the easiest. The hardest was maybe Robin poker because I had to learn the Scouse accent, and that one's pretty
It's that
difficult.
one, isn't it? It's like
Yeah,
spitting. Obviously,
yeah,
because
your voice is hard as shit, girl.
yeah.
Banana.
That would be
Some of those sounds.
hilarious if you tried to do me. I would piss myself, seriously.
Honestly, I probably the UK accent I'm the best with is Scottish because when I was in college, I was the lead of a play where I was playing like a woman with a Scottish dialect. So I can do Scottish pretty well, but so it's really hard for me to go in and learn some of these like Northern England sound changes that are sort of similar to Scottish, but also different. And if you mix and match it, it just kind of sounds a little muddled and weird.
I got a question, Caitlin. So right before the our show today, Tom Dwan welcomed himself back to Twitter, and he like went on the attack against Haralabob, and he's like accusing Haralabob of gambling while he was under the NBA contract and whatever. So but that's just generally like if you're gonna do impressions about that, do you ever start to like get worried about, you know, like just how the people are gonna take it, like as far as the people that you're doing them about, like if you do something about somebody that's scamming or whatever, and that kind of thing. How take me through that, just as far as that goes.
I think some make me nervous. Like, there's one that I've written and I've never released it because I just don't want to hurt anyone's feelings because everyone I would be doing the impression of would be like people that are my friends and champions, like which would be like a love letter to vloggers. So that one, like I have like an Andrew and a Brad impression and a Juan and like all these and Poker Face Ash and all these different vlogger types, but I like so don't want to hurt their feelings. And not like I'm mean or anything, but that's sort of been a mental block with releasing
Yeah,
that just because they've been so kind to me. I don't really want to like make them look stupid or take the piss out of them or for them to feel that I'm trying to do that. All of them, I've approached almost all of them and they've all been like, no, you just need to do it. So it's nothing they've said or done to make me feel that way. Um, I forgot what the other part of the question was.
like yeah, I mean, I think you generally answered it. Just kind of like the struggle of you're putting something out there for fun, and whether it's gonna maybe hurt people's feelings, or they're not gonna be happy
Yeah.
about it.
I mean, I'll tell you what, the videos do much better when people are the videos that have done well have been when like the person who's like mainly roasted in the video thinks it's hilarious and they share it. Like the video that Daniel was the main character in and he shared it. That one did really
Yeah.
well. The Robbie videos did really well because Robbie really appreciated it and loved it. And then the Hustler video, Veronica, Ryan, Nick, they all loved that video
Yeah.
and even the Australian guys like um and I can always tell when someone doesn't like it because they just like don't comment, and it's their right to not like me doing an impression of them. Like I'm never gonna feel entitled to them enjoying the impression or not being offended, but oh
Have you
well.
had anybody come up to you? You don't have to say who, but like, and give you crap about you doing them, or not?
No, no one's ever given me a hard time in person. They've all been like really kind and sweet. I've never had a
I
conflict.
would hope not. I would hope that even if they don't like the impression, I would hope that they would just stay silent. Like you said, they just don't make a comment. Because after all, it's just comedy. Like, come on, it's just comedy, people. Please don't be offended. Have fun with it, enjoy it. And if you don't, it's okay. Scroll on by. Lucky Pizza, I brought you up. Did you have any questions or comments?
Hey, thanks for bringing me up. What a nice little treat to find this space. I'm a big fan, Caitlin. Love what you're doing. Also, two questions. One not poker related, but did I hear you say that you went to NYU?
Yes, thank you. I did go to NYU.
Was it? Did you go to Tisch?
Yes. I was an
Oh,
acting student. I was in the Stella Adler Studio of Acting.
oh, cool. Was that undergrad or grad?
Undergrad.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I did film at Tisch undergrad. So
Oh, very cool.
703 Broadway. Remember it well.
Nice. Go Violets.
What year did you graduate?
2011.
Wow, we may have crossed paths. Yeah, I graduated 2011 as well.
Oh, far
Crazy.
out. Nice.
Yeah, very cool. But yeah, one question I did have for you was just, I mean, it sounds like you're really loving just the game aspect of it, which is so cool, and that you have aspirations just to continue that, which is amazing. That's awesome. I love it when someone is like an entertainer, and talented and creative in this arena, but also loves the game. Is passionate about it, and I think that that's kind of, I don't want to say rare, but it's just really cool. Uh, but I forgive me if you probably talked about it earlier, but could you tell me about just kind of the origin story of you getting into poker again?
My dad taught me how to play when I was really young, probably like third or fourth grade. We were playing around the kitchen table. And then when I moved out to LA, I would play recreationally with my friends. And then I played for a casino the first time when I was like 21 or 22 at Hustler. And then when I was in a touring burlesque show and doing stand up for that, I would like go play on the road whenever I had a day off on like the longer tours as like my side hustle. And then I went through a really bad breakup in 2017 that brought
I'm
me back
sorry.
to Texas. And no, it's fine. And that brought me back to Texas. And then that's when, like, right around the time when card rooms started to pop up, like the first card room popped up, I think, in 2015. So I started to play in those. And when I was like trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, I was playing like 20 hours a week of poker on top of my hotel job. And all of a sudden I was making more money from the poker hours than I was from the hotel job. And I was starting to like really struggle in my hotel job because I had to be up at 7 a.m. and I would get off work and then go grind till like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. But then when I started to play private games, the private games would get mad at me that I'm leaving so early. And I'm like, but I'm waking up. And so I just had to
Gotcha.
choose at that point. And that was in the beginning of 2021 was my first full year just doing poker. That's when I quit my hotel job.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. One quick question, if you guys don't mind. The short form stuff I love. Do you have any aspirations to do like some longer form content? Like, I don't know if you've done much screenwriting, or like, would you want to make a feature that centers around poker, or I don't know, kind of bigger idea projects? Do you have anything like that?
I was telling Sherry earlier that when I was a stand-up and hosting burlesque shows, I was writing a lot, and I've written like 2 features and maybe 7 pilots, and like one of the pilots has to do a lot with the main character as a autistic poker player. Um, that was like for a hour-long drama series that I wrote, and I mean those scripts are still on my hard drive. They still exist. I used to get them read all the time, and people would call me in for meetings, and then I just like blow the meeting because I just wasn't. And it's weird because I'm so personable now, but at the time I was just like a big ball of anxiety and inexperience, and I just would blow every opportunity or meeting that I got. Like one time I got invited by not CAA, what's the other big one? UTA maybe. They wanted to read my script and come in, and I came in and I like just freaked out, and I brought my dog. Like I was such an idiot. I blew every shot I had, but yeah, I do enjoy writing.
Did you do any? So you were a theater major. What was your favorite role that you did?
In college, we did Two Gentlemen of Verona, which is a Shakespeare play, and I got cast as like 4 or 5 different roles, and I had to cross dress for a couple of them. And like I played the father of the ingenue. The role is like the Duke of Verona or something, I forget. And it was set in the 1950s, and I like wore a suit and had a wig, and I think I was a very convincing man. That's the one that just pops off the top of my head.
All right, Caitlin, if you could give three pieces of advice for a new poker player, what would they be?
Be ready to lose. Winning is not the goal. Making the best decisions at every street is the goal. And don't play it if it's not fun for you.
Amen. And what do you suggest someone would do when they're going through a downswing?
Don't change the way you're playing. If you've studied and you're trying to execute a certain plan of heuristics, have faith in the plan. If you're going on a downswing because you're gambling or your mind space is not in the right um, spot, then work on your mental health and take time off and don't play again until you feel good about it.
I love that. All right. Those of you that are listening, if you'd like to come up and comment or ask Caitlin a question, now's the time. Just go ahead and press that request button in the bottom left corner, and we'll give you a moment to get up here and ask your question or say your comment. Andrew, did you have any other questions or comments?
I can always have some questions and comments. Caitlin, you're quite confident in terms of talking about poker. Like I said, it's something I haven't heard as much from you. So, like, do you have anyone who you've sort of taken under your wing? Like, any sort of, I don't know, just anyone who's kind of like learning the game where you find yourself in the teacher role of poker?
I was telling Sherry earlier that I coached a group of women here in Austin that are like young professionals that had never played poker before, and they were learning from scratch. And I coached them like weekly almost for about like a year and a half. And then when they finally had their big poker party to celebrate and they invited all their guy friends to come and play with them, like all my students won. So that was pretty cool.
That's awesome. I love that. Donna, did you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I do, and you're going to get this one, Sherry. Caitlin, coming from Texas, do you ride horses?
I have ridden horses, but I didn't like grow up on a farm or anything. I don't identify as a country girl or a cowgirl. I grew up in the suburbs. Um, so no, not any more than the average person.
I will DM you the backstory to that joke later.
Okay, perfect.
That she can guess what it
You
is.
guys, you haven't lived till you've been in Vegas with Donna and Sherry.
You got that right. Lucky Pete says, you got any other comments or questions?
Yeah, sorry about that. My phone died.
It's okay.
But I was enjoying your answer, Kaylin, and thanks for the answering the questions. And I would love to see you, produce or make something long form in the future after you win a couple bracelets, get that bankroll stacked, make your indie feature in the poker world. There's not a whole lot out there that's done well like that. So I'm rooting for you, and keep doing you.
Perfect. Sounds good. Thanks for your support.
That's so sweet. Okay, Brian, you have any questions or comments?
No, I'm good. Thanks, Sherry.
All right. Caitlin, we try to keep it to an hour or so. So we are going to let you off the hook. I appreciate you humoring us and answering all of our questions and being with us today. And I wish you all the luck.
Oh, thanks. Right back at you. Thank you for all the kind words. Y'all were like so sweet and effusive with all your words. And good luck with your space and continuing to grow your community. And thanks for having me.
Thank you. Brian?
Thanks everybody for joining, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Night.